A stranger at the library demanded I give up my study room because I have a more important exam than you. When I refused, he stormed to the front desk and shouted, "She's being selfish and won't share." The librarian looked between us as I pulled up my reservation email and said, "Then let's see who actually booked it." I was at the Brigadier General Charles E. McGee Library in Silver Spring, Maryland, studying for my nursing board exams. I had reserved study room 4-03 for a 2-hour block starting at 9 a.m. The library's policy allows individuals to reserve study rooms for up to 2 hours per day. About 30 minutes into my study session, a young man opened the door to my study room and asked if he could use it because he had an exam soon. I explained that I had reserved the room and suggested he check with the front desk for other available spaces. He accused me of being selfish and claimed his exam was more important than mine. He then left the room abruptly. Shortly after, I heard raised voices near the front desk. The same young man was speaking loudly to the librarian, accusing me of not sharing the room. The librarian calmly asked to see our reservation confirmations. I showed her my email confirmation, and she verified that I had the room reserved. The young man did not have a reservation. The librarian informed him that reservations are honored to ensure fairness and suggested he wait for the next available room or use the open study areas. The young man left the library, and I continued my study session. Later that day, I received an email from the library administration apologizing for the incident and assuring me that they take such matters seriously. They also informed me that the young man had been issued a warning for his behavior. Things calmed down after he left, or so I thought. 2 days later, I came back to the same library. Same study room. Same time. I had booked it again through the system. I double-checked everything before I left the house, just to avoid any mess. I was 20 minutes into my session when I heard a knock. Not a gentle tap, like a full-on fist bang on the glass door. I looked up. It was him. He stared at me through the door like I had personally ruined his life. I didn't move. I just looked down and kept highlighting my notes, heart beating faster now. He didn't leave. He just stood there. Finally, he opened the door without asking and stepped inside. "You again," he said, louder than necessary. I kept my voice calm. "Yes, I reserved the room again." He stepped further and, like he was testing how much I'd push back. "You can't just hog these rooms every day. Other people need them too." I was so stunned I laughed. "They're open to everyone. You just have to book one." He leaned over my books. I tried. "Your name was already there. Every day. You think you're the only one that matters." I stood up. Not yelling. Not angry. Just firm. "You need to leave." "This is getting weird." He didn't move. I grabbed my phone and told him I was going to call the front desk. He laughed like I was bluffing. So I called. I didn't hesitate. I told them exactly what was happening. When I hung up, he muttered, "Unbelievable," and walked out again. But this time, when I returned to my studying, I couldn't focus. My hands were shaking. I locked the door. A staff member showed up 5 minutes later to check in. I explained everything. They took it seriously, at least it looked like they did. They told me they'd make a note and speak with him again if needed. I thought that would be it, that he would back off. But the next time I came in, my reservation was mysteriously gone. I showed up, ready to study, pulled out my phone to confirm it, and the slot was blank. The email confirmation I had? Still there. But on the public system? Nothing. When I asked the staff, they said someone had canceled it from the main desk. I hadn't. I didn't even know you could cancel someone else's booking. They looked into it, promised to review camera footage, and told me to wait. They gave me another room to use in the meantime. I sat there, not studying, just staring at the wall. This wasn't about the room anymore. It felt personal now. I kept asking myself, why? What kind of person goes this far over a library room? The next day, I got a phone call from the library director. They confirmed someone had accessed the front desk terminal pretending to be a volunteer and canceled my booking manually. They weren't allowed to say who, but they handled it internally and reassured me it wouldn't happen again. But here's the thing, later that week, I got an anonymous message on Instagram. Enjoy your little kingdom. It won't last. I froze. I don't have a public profile. The name isn't the same. The profile was blank, no posts, no name, no photo. Just that message. I deleted it, blocked the account, and sat on my couch for a long time just staring at the wall. I didn't feel safe. I didn't want to go back to that library. I didn't want to be watched, followed, messed with. But then part of me, this angry, tired part, decided not to back down. I made another reservation. I didn't say a word to anyone. I just walked in, sat down, locked the door behind me, and placed my phone on record, just in case. I kept glancing at the door every few minutes. Nothing happened. Not that day. But someone had left a note slipped under the door. Don't push it. I didn't touch it. I took a picture, slid it into a Ziploc, and went straight to the front desk. And that's when everything started spiraling. The librarian at the front desk froze when I handed her the note in the Ziploc. Her hands didn't move at first. She just looked at it, then up at me. Did you see who left it? She asked. No. I locked the door. It was slipped under while I was inside. She called her supervisor. They took it seriously this time, serious in that way people get when they realize things might have gone further than petty drama. They asked if I wanted to call the police. I hesitated. I didn't even know what I'd report. A threatening note under a library door? Still, I said yes. Montgomery County Police showed up about 40 minutes later. 2 officers. One took the note, the other asked me questions. I told them everything, about the first time he stormed into my room, about the fake cancellation, about the Instagram message. I showed them the message too, even though I'd blocked the account. They nodded a lot and said they'd look into it, which didn't feel like much. But at least now it was in writing. They took my contact info and left. I packed up early that day and went home. That night, I kept my porch light on and checked my locks twice. 2 days later, a weird thing happened. I was at a coffee shop in Tacoma Park, just trying to get some studying done away from the library. I felt safer in a public space, somewhere I could see everyone around me. I sat near the window, headphones in, halfway through a quiz app. Then I saw a reflection move behind me in the glass. Someone standing just a little too close to my table. I turned around. It was him. He looked surprised, like he didn't expect me to recognize him outside of the library. But I did. I will never forget that face. "What are you doing here?" I asked, louder than I meant to. He grinned. "Just studying." I stood up. My chair scraped back. "You followed me?" He raised his hands like I was being dramatic. "It's a coffee shop. Anyone can come here." I grabbed my bag and headed for the counter. I told the barista to call the cops. I didn't care how I looked. I wanted it on record. The guy took off before they got there, of course. After that, I installed a security camera at my apartment door. I started keeping pepper spray in my bag. Every time I left my apartment, I scanned the parking lot. I stopped going to the library. Then the biggest twist came. I was home, going through emails one night, and I saw one from someone named Ali, or a name I didn't recognize. The subject line was, "About the library guy. You need to see this." I almost deleted it, but curiosity got the better of me. The email had no text, just a link to a Google Drive folder. I hovered my mouse over it for a long time. Then I clicked. Inside were screenshots. Dozens of them. From Reddit. From Discord. From private chats. Apparently, this guy, his name was Jared, had been posting in study and productivity forums, bragging about how he could game the system at public libraries to take over rooms. He'd even posted about a dumb girl who was obsessed with her reservation. One screenshot made my stomach drop. It was a photo of me, taken through the glass of the study room door. From the day of the first confrontation. I was reading. Head down. No clue I was being watched. I responded to the email right away. Who are you? How do you know this? The person replied, I used to be in a Discord server with him. He got kicked for creeping on girls in our group. I recognized your story when you posted it online. I hadn't posted anything yet. I never made a public post. I never said a word about this online. I stared at the screen. Then they sent one more message. He's been talking about you for weeks. Said you made him look stupid. He doesn't like that. That's when I knew this wasn't random. This wasn't about a library room anymore. This guy had made me into some kind of twisted game. I emailed the screenshots to the police, the library, even the coffee shop security team. But things weren't over. Because the next morning, I got a letter in my actual mailbox. No stamp. No address. Just one sentence written in Sharpie. You went too far. I stood in my kitchen holding the letter, my hands shaking so hard it fluttered. It felt like everything around me went still. My fridge buzzed. A dog barked somewhere outside. But in my head, it was silent. Someone had come to my door. Someone who didn't need to knock. Someone who knew where I lived. I called the cops again. They showed up, same as before, polite, writing things down. But there was no proof. No fingerprints. No video because the camera I had pointed at my door? It had been unplugged. Not by me. The cord was yanked out, probably from the night before. They took the note. Promised to escalate things. It wasn't enough. I started digging. The girl who sent me the screenshots, Allie, offered to help. She had access to the Discord server Jared used. Even though he was banned, some of his old messages were still there. She sent me more logs. His obsession with reclaiming space. His posts about how women were entitled if they didn't let him do what he wanted. His weird pride in manipulating systems. He was toxic, but smart. He used fake names, fake emails, VPNs. Still, people leave digital footprints. I traced his Discord tag to an old Reddit post he'd made asking for advice about internships in the area. He mentioned a company, a tech startup. I searched their staff list. There he was. Same face, slightly more cleaned up. LinkedIn page full of big words and fake smiles. I made copies of every screenshot, every post, every thread. I highlighted the part where he bragged about locking out a dumb nursing student from her precious room. I sent all of it to his employer. From an anonymous burner email. Then I waited. 3 days later, his profile vanished. Their staff page removed him. A quiet deletion. No big announcement. I guess they didn't want a scandal. The same day, I got a new message from Allie. You did it. He's out. I wish that had been the end. But revenge doesn't always come clean. A week later, I received an official letter in the mail. It was from the library. They were banning me for 6 months. Apparently, Jared had submitted a complaint weeks ago, before everything blew up, saying I intimidated him and created a hostile environment. They hadn't acted on it then, but with all the chaos, they said they had to enforce neutrality until things were fully investigated. I was stunned. I called, wrote emails, even brought in a binder full of evidence. But they stood by their cooling-off policy. I had gotten him fired, but he got the last laugh, at least in the place I had once felt safest. So I started studying somewhere else. Finished my nursing board prep at home. Passed with flying colors. I never went back to that library. But sometimes I still drive past it. And I remember how one small moment, one refusal to give up a space I had fairly reserved, spiraled into something that turned personal, obsessive, and dangerous. We both made mistakes. He turned a simple conflict into harassment. I let it become a war. I got my revenge. But I also lost my peace. In the end, maybe that's what these stories never tell you. Nobody really wins. They just stop fighting.